We now welcome on Gaurav to talk about the MLB trade deadline and why it is a very exciting time. Granted, it is a 162 game season in baseball, so it gets a little long and monotonous, but this is one of the most exciting times of the season. And just overall, why? Coach, I want to shoot to you first. Why do we want to know what's happening, what the excitement level is, which teams are going to be the ones to watch? Why is this so exciting right now?
The trade deadline's always fun. You're either in it or you're out of it. Right now, you got a handful of teams that are sitting there at the trade deadline who are excited about the possibility of jumping in contention, jumping into the possibility to be in the playoffs. But even the teams that are not in the playoffs, they're looking at this trade deadline thinking, all right, who are we going to get for next year? Who's going to be these prospects we could possibly deal away that maybe 3 or 4 years from now, they could be our franchise corner pieces who lead our teams going on. So the MLB trade deadline to me is different from all the other ones just because everybody's going to be interested. It's not like the NBA, it's not like the NFL. But for Major League Baseball, this is the time of year where franchises can make that turn. If you're either in it, so you're getting that bolster, or you're out of it, but you're getting that piece that could change your franchise from years to come. So that's to me what separates this from all the other sports.
Well, I agree. I think you are exactly right on that. Gaurav, I want to you are a Braves man here. I want to get your thoughts, just quick thoughts on the Braves and kind of teams that are also in the same position as Atlanta right now with being a buyer, being a seller. Who are you kind of looking at, searching for when you look at the trade deadline?
Well, it's such a interesting time for the Braves. Everything tells you sell, sell, sell. When your star player goes down, sell. What the Braves have going for them is the very, very weird scenario that they're in, and it's quite unique to the rest of the league, I'd have to say. And that's the division is so bad that the Braves still have the opportunity to really take care of it and finish things off and somehow win another division despite everything that's happened. If you're asking me who they need to really look at, the Braves just got Jock Peterson because you can't run out an outfield of Abraham Almonte, Guillermo Heredia, and Ender Inciarte. We saw Ender just got sent down to the IL for COVID-related reasons. You still have to go with that. Their outfield production is rather bad. So someone at the top of my list would be none other than Joey Gallo. That big bat that gives Freeman tons of protection between Ozzie, Gallo, and Freeman. That's really, really good top head. Really, really good offense at the top of your lineup. Outside of that, we're going to see the Braves kind of roll the dice, it seems like, on starting arms. Touki Toussaint has the start tonight and is pitching really well against the Padres. Tomorrow they got the doubleheader and they got Bryce Wilson and Kyle Muller pitching. So it looks like mainly the people that they're going to be focusing on, if they decided to buy, it's going to end up being relievers and potentially starting outfielders.
And being a Braves guy for life, I want to always say that we're a buyer. I mean, just being a Braves guy, I'm like, man, what can we do next? And I hate to say this, Coach, but for the first time, I think we got to be sellers. I hate to say it, but I think it's time to, first of all, we all will agree, please sign Freddie Freeman, give him what he wants, sign the man, get it done. And I think that's first and foremost is to sign Freddie, and I think we'll all agree. But after that, I think we got to trade Morton, trade Smiley, see what we can get. Trade Swanson, he'll never be a Brave again. I think there's so many shortstops out there that surely we can get a guy that's better at shortstop than Swanson. And I'll get some hate for that, but I think it's time for him to go. The bullpen's been bad. I don't know. I mean, somebody might take Will Smith. His contract's kind of high, but I don't know who's going to take him. But for the first time, and I'm disappointed in myself, I'm saying this, for the first time as a Braves fan, I think it's time to, maybe this year might be the year to be a seller.
Why would you get rid of Dansby Swanson? That's the greatest name in baseball.
Just because he's pretty don't mean he's good.
He's definitely not the greatest name in baseball.
It's one of the best, top 10, maybe 5. Come on.
We're gonna agree to disagree.
Okay.
My view, if we're looking at the Braves, is I feel like the Braves, if you think about in the past 10 years, so we're looking at when Jason Hayward, Craig Kimbrell, McCann, Gaddis, you look at all the different years when the Braves have had all the talent, there's never going to be a better time than now. Now, obviously, with Ronald Acuna being hurt, you're looking at it from a different vantage point, but you're never, I mean, when are we, Ozzy Albies is going to get old soon. Freddie Freeman is going to get old soon. Obviously Dansby, if we don't keep him, but Dansby is going to get old soon. So we're going to go through this rebuilding gear I can remember when Ozzy just got to the league and just got to the Braves, and we're always talking about rebuilding. So when are we going to stop mentioning rebuilding, trading for young farmhands, trading for young pitching? When are we going to finally say, hey, these guys are in their prime? We've got Freddie Freeman. I hope, like you said, I would give Freddie Freeman whatever he wants. But we have him here. We've got him here this year. We're only 3 games out starting tonight. Ozzy's playing the best he can be. We got Austin Riley, who is very underappreciated for what he does. Obviously, we've got the best men's league softball catching core imaginable with Stephen Vogt joining up. We just got rid of LaCroix, but I mean, we've got everything we need. It's just we need that one extra piece. Now, we've got all these people coming back, but why not? Why not buy? Why not make a run at it? Because when you have the MVP Freddie Freeman, we can win anything. I don't agree with selling right now. I think we just need some good luck to happen. We need obviously 1 or 2 good arms in the bullpen to make that run. I mean, we've got everything we need, but there's no point in selling because eventually we're going to just be like, all right, Ozzy wasted his turn here. Ronald wasted his turn. I say we buy for the Braves, get what we need, and let's make a run at it.
I like that point that Gaurav made about how the division is just bad. And it's interesting to see. And when he said that, I was like, wait, I can't remember who is leading that division. And Atlanta is in 3rd place. So it's an interesting thing to say. And I agree.
A soft third.
I know that. I'm saying, hey, I'm getting there. Give me a second here. And so they're a very, very competitive team in that division. And so when you look at them and you look at, okay, like you're saying, Coach, hey, let's buy right now. Let's make a run at this. Let's win the division. Let's do this. Is there another team? Can one of you give me another team that you see that is very comparable to the situation Atlanta is in, that they're maybe not leading their division, but they have the pieces that they need? They maybe just need 1, 2 more guys at most to kick them over the edge, to give them that opportunity for a playoff push. Is there a team that is comparable to Atlanta in that situation?
In the NL, I can't really think of anyone because out in the West, you're gonna have the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Padres all make it with the Padres and Dodgers or whoever taking the 2 wild card spots. The Central, there's no way the Reds are going to be making it. So really, like I said, it's an extremely unique situation. They're 2 games under 500, the Braves, and they're only 4.5 games behind rather. Right now they're leading 2-1 and the Mets are losing, so it could be 3.5 games. It's a very, very unique. I can't remember the last time I remember a team this young with the potential to still win the division. As far as like what they're going to do in the playoffs, I really don't think they're going to be going too far with this kind of team. Again, you can't trot out Almonte and Heredia in an outfield and expect to win a playoff series. But in terms of actually getting to the playoffs, yeah, they absolutely could. So really, I really can't think of a single team this year or really in the past that has this really, really unique opportunity, because even if the Braves do sell, like we talked about earlier, it's going to be Charlie Morton, it's going to be Will Smith. These are people that you can then replace next year. The core of the team is so young that they're all going to be there. You're going to have your Acuna, you're going to have your Ozzy. It's got to be a priority to get Freeman, because in the minors, there is no one coming close to that Freeman production.
We traded the only first baseman away.
Yeah. Next year, you're talking about the Contreras getting more time in AAA where he can get that swing, because he's so much better than he showed this year up in the majors. they could sell, they could buy. If they sell, they could still compete next year. So it really depends on what kind of value you can get from Morton. If you're able to get a game-changing type of prospect, then maybe you do it and you boot this year. But I really don't foresee that happening. I could see the Braves saying, screw it, let's go for it. Let's buy a couple of cheap pieces, see if we can win the first round and call it quits after that, and then really retool in the offseason. Because, like if you do go away from a Dansby, you have someone like Corey Seager available, and you can't say no to that. It's a sizable upgrade. So it's a very unique situation. For me, I'm probably team buy, just because you're not going to go after some kind of big bat unless you get a Gallo. And if you get a Gallo, he's under team control for next year. So that's perfectly fine. Even if you don't win it all and don't win the division this year, next year you're bringing back the core of Gallo, Acuna, hopefully Freeman, and that easily competes next year. So it's a unique situation, and it's really weird to be in. It's hard to really take a stance, really.
I think it's an odd year because when you look at the standings, so many teams have a large gap between them. I mean, I was just looking at my phone and looking at the American League of the East, and the Yankees are 48 and 44 and 7.5 games back. They're 7.5 games back. And if you read anything online, there's so many people talking about the Yankees as buyers at 7.5 games back. I mean, that's crazy. If the Braves were 7.5 games back, everybody on this show would say sell, sell, sell. And there's so many people saying Yankees, buy, buy, buy. And it makes no sense to me that they think they can still compete at 7.5 games back. So it's just a crazy year. And I think there's a lot of teams that are sellers this year. So you guys may talk me into changing my mind here a little bit, but I'm going to try to stay strong that the Braves should sell. But there's so many other teams that are going to be sellers. There may be some cheap guys out there that could help add to any team that's going to compete this year.
I don't think you should ever take for granted being in playoff contention. I remember when we were in that hunt, I think there was a 3-year span where we didn't have a prayer. We had Greg Norton starting. We had Brooks Conrad starting. I can't even remember who was in the outfield. It was so bad because I knew we wouldn't have them back next year. But the fact you're only 4.5 games out today, and assuming, Tuki finishes the game, assuming the Mets lose, and it's the Mets. The Mets ain't going to finish strong. It's the Mets. All right. You should never take for granted being in playoff contention, because once you made the playoffs, anything can happen. It ain't like our starting rotation's bad. I mean, we have a very good starting rotation in Atlanta. I mean, Charlie Morton's arguably one of the best starters in all of Major League. I mean, he pitched in the World Series last year. I mean, you can't take that for granted. Drew Smiley's not been what it's been, but I mean, our starting rotation is not bad. So if we can just get there, anything can happen. And so I feel like a lot of people take for granted what it's like being in the postseason. And then our lineup, like I said, if Freddie Freeman gets hot, Ozzie gets hot, Austin Riley gets hot, anything can happen. Just give us one more piece. Give us that outfielder that can just give us that one more player, or maybe that bullpen arm. If we could just somehow sweet talk Chicago into giving us Kimbrel, I mean, anything can happen right now for the Braves. So I'm in the mindset, if you have a chance, swing for the fences. Let's see what we can make happen.
I have a question to raise. So I keep hearing this Joey Gallo, and I'm a Joey Gallo fan. I hate Zach. I had him, or Coach. I had him winning the home run derby this year, but
he did. I remember it.
But other than Joey Gallo, who is the outfield piece that we could add, and who would we have to give up? And are we ready to give up Pacquiao or Waiters for that guy that can play today? Because everybody's like, Pacquiao, Waiters. They're going to be players. But are we ready to trade one of those guys that for somebody that can play for the Atlanta Braves in 2020-21 and contribute? I mean, any guy thoughts on that?
As long as that's a guy like Gallo that's under contract for several more years, you can absolutely make that kind of decision. The likes of, Pache, Waters, all those, they're unproven in the major leagues. And that's the biggest thing for me, especially since I'm hyper focused on the minors, is these guys are unproven. And if you get someone that has a 900 OPS, you can't say no. It doesn't really matter. Yeah, it might hurt in the future, but like someone like Gallo, who you can have for multiple years, you can have an outfield that stars a Gallo and an Acuna. It's a pretty much a no-brainer. And to add on to what we were just talking about, the team in first place in their division in the NL East is going to be a team that lost their, well, let's say the best pitcher of our generation and Jacob deGrom. He's got forearm tightness. Lindor is on the IL. You know, two of their star players are hurt. So the team that you're only 4.5 games behind, and tonight might be 3.5, they're missing two of their best players. So it becomes a situation where it kind of forces AA into this realization, because I'm sure if the Mets were completely healthy and if they were clicking, and, you know, like you said, if the Braves were 7.5 games back, it's like, okay, whatever, go ahead and sell. But the division's weak. You're leading, your division leader is weakened on their roster itself. It's painting for me, it's painting a picture where the Braves just have to go for it. And I'm not saying sell the farm or anything like that, but if you can acquire some sizable bat like a Gallo for prospects, it's a no-brainer.
Coach, I want to go to you because you have this very, very passionate feeling about the Braves being buyers. So do you have a set of teams in your mind that are the strongest buyers at the table right now as of Tuesday in the MLB trade deadline?
So other than the Braves, I've got obviously two other buyers. And when I say buyers, they're teams not necessarily out of the hunt. They may, you know, I got teams sitting here in the hunt that needs to make a move to stay in the hunt. The first team I want to throw out is the Oakland A's. Right now, they're in the wild card. They're the second wild card team. They're 55-42. They're killing it, but you know they're in a tough division. I mean, the American League is obviously having a lot of success this year. They're 13 games over 500, and they're the second wild card team. I think that says a lot about the success the American League is having this year. And there's some very good teams over there. But for the Oakland A's, right now they have the 11th best ERA, so they've got to have some pitching to come along. They've got the 22nd best batting average in all of baseball. So they need an outfielder right now with some power, with some pop. So I think Oakland's got to make a move to stay in the hunt, because I mean, even though they're in the West, they need something to sustain their success in the wild card. I think they're behind Houston right now. I think they're 3 games out. They're a really good team, but you know, Matt Olson's only going to carry them so far. So they need to find some way to acquire some pop out there. The other team I got is the New York Yankees. I think the Yankees catch a lot of slack because of their name. They're the Yankees. They're the favorite team for everybody to hate. You either love the Yankees, you either hate the Yankees. But the Yankees also have some really good players. They have a lot of potential. And I think a lot of times people misunderstand in baseball, when you have really good players, you're going to win a lot of games. And they're 4 games over 500 and are 4th in their division. I'm going to say that one more time in case people do not understand what I just said. They are 4 games over 500 and are 4th in the division.
Say it one more time.
All right. In case anybody out there is still listening, they are 4 games over 500 and are 4th in the division. 48-44, and they're 7.5 games out of being from behind the Red Sox. But other than that, I mean, they're only 4.5 out from the wild card, so they're still in a fighting chance. But you got Aaron Judge out there. You got the greatest pitcher. I mean, arguably with deGrom, the greatest pitcher healthy right now with Garrett Cole, despite the sticky situation and what it might mean to them. So they have every piece imaginable, but they're going to have to get something just because their division is so tough. You know, I think they have the 19th. Let me look at my paper here. They got the 19th best batting average. So they need a little more solidification as far as on base percentage, especially from the top of the lineup, because at any moment, Garrett Cole, Sanchez can pop it out, but they got to get some people on base. So I think the Yankees, I think the A's, and then me being the loyal Braves fan that I am, I think the Braves those are my top 3 sellers that top 3 buyers that's got to buy something to get themselves and remain in playoff contention.
I like those choices. I like you dogging on the A's a little bit, needing to pick it up. They're doing well, but they need to pick it up. I agree with that. But I think those are some solid choices. Phil, if you can match that, right now I'm team coach on his choices of buyers, so you're gonna have to sell me pretty hard. And he chose the A's, so you're gonna have to sell me pretty hard here.
Yeah, I don't think I can beat him just because he chose the A's, but I want to start with Boston. I mean, I think Boston's a team that I think they need to add a second baseman. I think they need to go ahead and trade for Kimbrel and bring him back. I also think that, I've been looking at Chris Sale's going to come back late in the year. So that's going to be just like making a big trade. He's one of the best arms in baseball, just a guy that's been hurt a little bit. They are leading the division, but they're only a game and a half above the Tampa Bay Rays, a team that made it to the World Series last year, a team that's always good. And then you got, coaches, Yankees that are 7.5 games behind them. So it's always good just a team like that. They need to add one or two guys just to give them that extra push, give them that push along the run. So I think that Boston needs to make a little trade. To me, the Kimbrel trade, bring him back from Chicago, back from Huntsville, Alabama. I like him. I'm a big guy. I like his big beard. I like the way he throws it. I think he's a good pickup for them. And I don't want to say this, and this hurts my heart, but I think a buyer needs to be the New York Mets. As a Braves guy,
Get him off there. Cut him off. Cut him off.
This
hurts
me
off.
Even though we're the New York Mets and we're still paying Bobby Bonilla, they paid him the other day as $1 million. Side note, but I think I look at it a little different. I think when Lindor hurt, I think they need to go out and trade for Baez. Forget Chris Bryant. Trade for Baez. When Lindor comes back, Baez can play third. I don't see Bryant. I just don't like the fit there. I like the Baez trade. That makes more sense to me. Send Baez somewhere else. The starting pitching for the Mets, that forearm tightness, that could be real bad or it could be real minor. They could just be being real cautious there. I'm not sure. You never know with that, so we'll wait to see. Zach stole my pick. I like Oakland, so I'm going to say the Dodgers. The Dodgers are 2 games back from San Fran. San Fran's kind of surprise team that's caught everybody off guard. Everybody picked the Dodgers out of the gate just to beat everybody by 100 to win 162 games. But I think they need to make a tweak here or there just to kind of put themselves to, solidify that wild card and push themselves to make that playoff run.
I still got to go with Coach. I apologize.
I figured that.
Always. You should learn that by now.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lead you astray. And anybody that picks, let's just be clear. Anybody that picks the Mets as buyers needs to just be revoked of any. I can't even finish the sentence. Just kick them off. Nobody picks the Mets. You might as well. I mean, it's just a dumpster fire, an absolute dumpster fire.
All right. Lay off. All right.
All right. I'm sorry.
Out of those teams, Gaurav, are there any ones that really caught your attention that they listed out of those groups that you think, do you hate the Mets choice like Coach obviously does? Do you like the Oakland choice like I do? Do you like the Yankees? Is there anything there that really kind of caught your eye or your ear?
For me, honestly, it has to be the Oakland Athletics. I think they have that opportunity to really take a hold of that division and run away with it almost. They have a really, really strong team. Well, maybe not run away because the Astros are playing well, but if they buy, they could potentially win that division and make some pretty sizable noise in the playoffs there. So I really like the Athletics. In the NL, it does pay me to say, but it's going to be hard for the Mets to buy just because we have to figure out what's wrong with DeGrom and Lindor. But the Phillies make sense because they're right there in the division as well. I think you might see, for me, it would have to be the most active division should be the NL East just because you have 3 teams that are capable of winning that division. But outside of the NL East, my number one has to be the Athletics just because I really, really like their team. I like what they can do. And they'll find some way to sneak into like the ALCS. I'm fully aware that they're going to find some way. They'll be in the ALCS trying to push for that World Series.
Well, once again, just like y'all hate on the Mets, I hate on the Phillies. I don't like the Phillies. So, but the position that stands out to me, and if you look at the future of baseball, baseball could really change this next year with so many free agents at the shortstop position. And being a baseball guy, I still think you got to be strong up the middle. That's how I look at it. You got to be strong up the middle. And with all these free agents coming at the shortstop area next year, who is the shortstops that could be traded this year that you really think, when I start thinking, I think about Story in Colorado. If he was traded, that could change the game. When I think about Swanson, he's here and there. Seager's not going to be traded, but who is the shortstop up the middle that could be traded that could literally be a difference maker in the playoffs to that World Series run? Zach, coach?
I agree. I think Story is the guy as far as franchise maker. When you start comparing it like that, you've got a great point. And Swanson is not going to be a franchise game changer. We thought a couple of years ago we hit the jackpot when we traded Shelby Miller for him. And we traded Shelby Miller for Dansby Swanson. I mean, that's a, hats off, kudos, trade of the century. But now that we got him, I mean, you have to be realistic. There's a reason the Diamondbacks agreed to that trade, and it wasn't because they just wanted Shelby Miller. I mean, they obviously had a little insight. They had some good scouting. But, I'm looking – if I want to go back to the point, the National League really has three teams as far as that is in contention but is not in contention. And all three of those teams from the NL East. You got the Mets, you got the Phillies, you got the Braves. Outside of those three teams, the National League playoff picture is pretty much already decided. You got the Brewers from the Central, and then you got the combination of Giants, Dodgers, and Padres filling the other spots. So you've got three teams. And I look back, and that's really rare that there's only three teams left to contend for a playoff spot at the trade deadline. And from the Braves standpoint, if you could get Trevor Story from the Rockies, that's a franchise game-changing trade. Now, we do need a pitcher, but from the question you're asking me, I think Trevor Story could definitely change the Braves. Now, it ain't going to change for the Mets. They've obviously got Lindor, and it ain't going to change for the Phillies because they've got Segura sitting up there up the middle. So I think it only makes sense from the Rocky standpoint. Trade him Kyle Wright. I mean, I've heard Kyle Wright's name for the last 10 years. The dude ain't doing nothing right now. Let's go after it. Get a big power bat up there that can protect Freeman. Throw him in the cleanup hole. I think Trevor Story to the Braves is probably my favorite trade that could happen right now.
Well, I like those points. I don't know.
Do you like those points, Chuck?
I like these points. I've been taking vast notes. I've learned a lot about the Braves from Gaurav, of course. I've learned a lot about why Coach is going to tear Maynard's head off because of his idea with the Mets. And
just don't ever pick the Mets, and we're good. Don't ever pick the Mets. Unless Al Leiter and Bobby Bonilla is sitting there. Don't ever pick the Mets.
Are they the only two Mets players Bobby Bonilla? Is that the only one you know?
Obviously. Those are the only two that I care about mentioning on the air right now.
Okay. All right. Well, unless you two have do you have another question, Phil, Coach, anything you'd like to ask Rob on the Braves? You guys are the Braves fans.
I want to hear his shortstop comment real good. We've been hating on Swanson. I want to hear what he thinks should happen at the Braves shortstop real quick.
I want Corey Seager.
You want a new shortstop. That's the new one. He wants a new shortstop.
Dansby is who he is. He's not a terrible player. He's slightly above league average. He's just so up and down. You don't really know what to expect. When you have someone like Corey Seager coming up on the market, who's just so dynamic offensively and defensively, it's hard not to be like, okay, that's the upgrade that needs to happen. And what Dansby has going for him is he's not a bad shortstop. He does have value. So if you can somehow work out some kind of deal where someone wants an expiring contract next year, and then you're able to bring on someone like Corey, it's like I said, it's an absolute no-brainer.
To me, Dansby's just like the rest of the shortstop. He's like Yunel Escobar. He's like Andrelton Simmons. They're guys that you do not mind being at the shortstop. but they're not guys who are going to change your franchise for the better.
Okay. All right.
100% agree. There's so many good shortstops out there that there could be a game changer, and he's a game manager.
All right.
Correct.
Can we just quit it? All right. Leave him be. All right. He's doing a good job. I'd take him right now for the Oakland A's move him to second base for us for a moment here. Jeez.
That's not going to take much, Chuck.
Whatever. Okay. I didn't know that we turned this episode into a hate on Dansby Swanson. But unless either one of you two have anything else to ask, I think we can wrap it here on a very, very good talk on the MLB trade deadline. Some great talk about the Atlanta Braves. I would love to really thank you, Gaurav, for joining us. You gave us some great insight on the Braves. We'd love to have you back. I know Coach and Phil, they don't know diddly squat about Atlanta. You at least have definite expertise on the Braves, so you at least have some great answers compared to I don't even know what I get out of these two.
We have a minute and a half. One word. You get one word. Who do you got winning the World Series? Everybody, you got to go across the board. You got nothing else but your answer, Coach. One word.
Go Braves.
All right, next.
All right, Boston.
Anybody else?
Boston.
All right. Anybody else?
Oh man, this is super tough. Let's go Giants.
Good choice.
All
do you like
good
the Angels,
safe
Phil? You like the Angels?
Yeah.
They're
Might as well
not going to make the playoffs. No. Chuck, just for you, I'm going to pick Oakland.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate that. But we will wrap it there then. We're not. That's it. We're done. Oakland's the champion. We're going to leave it there. But thank you so much, Gaurav. We would love to have you back. We really enjoyed this so much. And that's a wrap, fellas. I learned something, definitely learned more about the Braves than what I would have learned from you two. So thank you so much, Gaurav.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, having me on, guys.
Thank you.
You should be a buyer in this MLB trade line here for the 2021 season. Now, the gentleman, Phil and Coach, we want to hear your sellers. We got to hear your buyers with Gaurav on the show. Now we need to know your sellers. As much as it is important to be a buyer, it's very important to know who are your sellers going into this trade deadline. Coach, Phil, who wants to start? Take it away.
I'm going to take the wrap first. I got my three sellers here. These are people who are not in the hunt, or they might be in the hunt, but they don't need to be in the hunt. My first one's going to be the Toronto Blue Jays. They got a nice young core, but they don't have the pieces they need. The AL East is arguably the toughest division outside of the NL West. They're behind the Yankees. They're behind the Mets. They're behind the Rays. There's no point the Blue Jays trying to hang around with their young talent. Sell the few pieces they got, stock it up, make a run at it next year. My next team is going to be the Cleveland Indians. Good team. They're always in the picture, it seems like, but this is not their year. They're behind the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox are going to take the division. Obviously, with the AL East tough, they're not going to make a run in the wild card. Get rid of what you got. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your fame. My last team, the NL East, the Philadelphia Phillies. They're in contention right now. They're above the Braves. They're not going to beat the Braves. They've got a bunch of old players, old vets who have been good, a lot of success, but they can't sustain it. Aaron Nola is not going to be at the top of his game very much longer. One injury away from ending his career. Aaron McCutchen is fixed. He's last year on his contract. Time to get rid of him. Gene Segura, an old guy. He's in his mid-30s. Not going to be around long. It's time for the Phillies to make a trade. Just get out of it. They might as well just qualify themselves from the NL East. There's no point of being in there. They're not going to last long. So those are my three teams. Pack it up, sell it, get out of Dodge.
So my three teams, I want to start off with one that many people are going to disagree with. The Yankees, sell. You're 7.5 games back. You're done. You're behind Tampa Bay. You're behind Boston. You're behind Toronto. Sell. And my next two teams are two teams that players from these two teams, Coach, I promise you, there's going to have some players in the World Series. My first team is the Twins. Nelson Cruz, trade him away, let him be a DH for a good team. Josh Donaldson, he may go to the Mets. Anderson Simmons, the best defensive shortstop in the game, trade him away. They may even trade old Buxton in center field, one of the best center fielders, free agent at the end of the year. Trade him off, try to get something because you can't resign him because the Twins don't pay anybody. My next team is the Chicago Cubs. Everybody already knows they're going to sell, but they got 3 big names, in my opinion, that some of these guys are going to be in the World Series. You got Baez, you got Bryant, you got Kimbrel. These guys are going to be playing for somebody else this year. They're going to be making late runs in the playoffs, but it's not for the Cubs. It's for somebody else. So in my opinion, those 3 teams got to sell. But I got one more name for you, Coach. This guy, he's going to get traded. He's not going to re-sign with his team, but he's going to be playing late in the playoffs, and that's Starling Marte. Miami's going to trade him. He's going to be playing for somebody good because he's not re-signing with them. And late in the playoffs, mark my words, Starling Marte will still be playing.
Nothing to add, Coach? You're just kind of sitting there.
I mean, those are great
called you
points.
out.
I mean, he called me out, but I mean, I can't disagree with him. Unfortunately, the Marlins are not going to trade Marte to the Braves or to the Mets or to the Phillies. So, I've enjoyed Marte while he's been in the East, but he's definitely going somewhere on the AL. So I do agree 100% with everything he said, except for the fact that the Yankees need to sell. The Yankees ain't selling. The Yankees have not been sellers ever since ever.
They should be.
They're not.
They should be.
They should be. Yeah, Phil.
Even if they should be, they're not going to be. So other than the Yankees comment, I agree 100% with what Phil says, but it is what it is. To each their own.
Well, I agreed with Coach on his buyers, but I got to go with Phil on his sellers. I think Phil sold me on his sellers. I mean, who would have thought? Who would have thought we'd be here right now? But
Get to drinking that Trapico, Chuck. Get to drinking that Trapico.
We ran out of Grape Paco. I'm on Frescas now. All right, send me some. They don't sell them up here in Kentucky. All right, I'm losing my mind over here. It's like crack cocaine to me. It's starting to get jittery over here too. No, I think Phil has a nice point on his sellers. Coach obviously has something. Obviously, he's a closeted Yankee fan because he's big time Yankee buy. So he wants the Yankees to be good, apparently. So, Coach, you can take that opinion and walk right out that door behind you, or there's no door behind you. Never mind. But
there's no door behind you, Chuck.
There's a door behind me. Yeah, apparently we've been getting some comments on my environment that I podcasted. This didn't turn into a YouTube podcast until last week with Joseph Girard's appearance on the show. So my bad. If you'd like to sell me some building materials or just buy me some building materials, I will insulate and finish off the den. My apologies to whoever has a problem with where I podcast. I don't just stack up trophies in a weird basketball on something on a shelf like a certain.
Go Q's, baby. Go Q's.
And then some guy just living with his nice yoga studio with his yoga ball back there over his left shoulder.
Thanks.
No, I think this, for a topic that I have literally no idea what on the MLB trade line, this was a great show. I learned a lot. Again, another great learning show for me. I've learned so much from both of you, so let's keep it rolling. I think next week we need to do the episode idea of we get both of your coaching and life philosophies. How about that?
Next week we got a big minor league star coming on.
That's right. Hit us with
that's friends with Coach. Coach, tell us about this guy before we get off. Wrap him up.
I mean, he's only probably the greatest arm in the AA Southeastern League. Arguably the best arm in the Reds franchise or the Reds prospect organization. It wouldn't surprise me if he's pitching in the All-Star game next year.
Well, and it's not an if he moves up to AAA ball, but when he moves up to AAA ball.
When?
I think he's going to skip AAA ball.
Well, if we don't want him to skip.
Graham Ashcraft might be starting the All-Star game next year. That's all I'm saying.
Well, he
might be starting the All-Star game.
We want him to come to AAA, so he'll be here in Louisville.
Yeah.
Then you can come see me.
I mean, if you
watch a game, there you go.
We did promise, Coach. We promised, Coach.
I mean, come on.
I'm not going to oppose it, but at the same time, he's going straight from AA to the pros.
I'll support, but that is.
We'll talk about that with him next week.
Exactly. But this has been another outstandingly terrific episode of the Mental Times Podcast. I'm your host, Chuck, along with my co-host, the coach, and Phil, the notorious Phil. And we will be back next week with loaded episodes of content. So stick around and we'll see you next time.